Now here is an Inside the Eye feature from our global friendly outlet sources exclusively picked for Blue Eye Media. Learn the truth behind what mainstream and opinion outlets will never say. Get the inside facts of this chronicle.
Democrats are finally pushing back on Republicans in person to their face and embarrassing them in a very public way and exposing the lack of knowledge that a lot of these die-hard Trump supporters have. So today I have some clips from a debate that Sam Seder did with 20 other MAGA Republicans. And as you can imagine, these guys on the MAGA side had absolutely no idea what they were talking about, and he tore into them. Let's just look at this first clip really quickly.
Dude.
If you could pay them less?
Listen, we're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. They don't, government agencies.
They don't.
No.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
every private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies operate are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of...
Look, right here, Sam is looking at this, and he knows that this person is too far gone. This person, this gentleman right here, is suggesting that government agencies pay taxes, that FEMA somehow pays taxes to the government when it's part of the government. It's insane.
Of this entire conversation...
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that. The FDA does not pay taxes. It does not get a tax cut because it doesn't pay taxes. DEIA forces them as an agency to say, if you have a job opening, you must do your best efforts to make sure that every
I like that.
part
I love
of
me a
society...
buzzword. You must do your best effort. I love that buzzword.
Okay, pause.
Because you feel like you have to. You're pressured to.
Yes.
You shouldn't be pressured to hire someone based on skin color.
No, not to hire someone on skin color, but put up notice about that the job exists. Make sure that you put it in different communities so that you have as wide an application pool as possible.
And therefore you get tax cuts.
All right, return to your seat.
At the end of the year when you file taxes, you get a tax cut for hiring someone who speaks a different language or a different skin color.
Dude.
So this guy just had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. He thinks that government agencies are paying taxes and that you get a tax cut if you hire somebody that's a person of color or somebody that speaks a different language. It's so funny how Republicans use DEI to go after minorities when DEI is not even mainly about people of color and minorities, but they never apply it to Trump's nominees like Pete Hegseth, who is a former Fox News host and obviously has a problem with treating women correctly and alcohol abuse, and now he's running the Department of Defense. That's what I'd call a DEI appointment, but of course he's loyal to MAGA, so Republicans don't really care. I have another clip here from this debate which just exposes kind of the racism and the disgusting nature of a lot of these MAGA Republicans, where they just want to go after people that have been historically oppressed, and they just want to continue that. Let's watch this clip here.
What's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
To be xenophobic nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture. We should have assimilation.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
What is
based
the dominant
on
culture?
European and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White Christian,
it's rooted in European identity.
White. So your argument is that
has been the dominant culture.
Just to be clear,
and we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
Your argument is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then, if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think the identity of America...
For the majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, for better or for worse, a melting pot in that regard.
Yeah, maybe since like the 1960s. Even then, even we had this idea of a melting pot literally means assimilation too. It means melting. It means you're assimilating to the dominant culture. Is that not what melting means?
No, it doesn't
and
mean
now instead we're saying there's something wrong with xenophobia.
Culture. No. I mean, look, I got to be honest with you, You and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice. And people, I think what you're expressing, though, is really what the Trump movement at its heart is about. And I think that's problematic.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's like anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Like Trump's basically a Democrat from like 15 years ago when it comes to social issues.
So you don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely. Nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
No, he's trying to pour a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh, so you want to get them out too? Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're making my argument for me.
Yeah, I really like that response from Sam Seder saying that I think you're making that argument for me, that the Trump MAGA movement is toxic, that it's racist, that at its core it's very hateful toward a variety of different people. I mean, this is a proud MAGA supporter, wears it on her chest, and she's openly espousing these views and proudly saying that she's a xenophobic nationalist. They're no longer hiding it. Trump has kind of enabled this hate, this ignorance to be out there on display. This is something that, before Trump, people would keep in private, rightfully so, because they're lunatics. Now they're on Jubilee, on major YouTube channels, on major debate platforms, proudly saying that they're xenophobic nationalists. And her lack of knowledge on the issue is astounding, saying that we've had a dominant culture in the United States and it's white European Christianity, when in reality, if you know anything about the United States and our very diverse culture over time and the immigrants that have come to the United States over time, you would know that that's not true, and that American culture and what's dominant in this country has evolved for years now. But these Trump supporters, these MAGA lunatics who are so boisterous about it, don't take the time to even look into these things. They don't even take the time to research. The ignorance is the point. This is what Donald Trump has done to America, where people are very comfortable being uninformed. They're no longer embarrassed by saying, you know what, I don't really know what I'm talking about. They no longer have the courage to admit when they don't know what they're talking about. They pretend to be experts on all these things. And that's exactly what Tim Walz, a Democratic leader, Kamala Harris's nominee for vice president, talked about the other day when he was campaigning in Iowa. He's going around the country to these different Republican districts where their Republican congressmen are refusing to hold town halls because they're getting booed by their constituents. So Tim Walz is picking it up and going to these districts and talking to people. And he talked about how there's an education issue in politics. And as we just saw from the two people debating Sam Seder. So let's take a look at what Tim Walz say, and we'll talk about it after.
Again, I got to be honest with you. They hate public education. I think they hate it for the reason we all know in here. It's easier to run an authoritarian government if you don't have a population that knows. So again, obviously I don't have all the answers, but I think it's appealing to people's sense of decency. Again, I should be careful about that. I thought a message that we should value all people and we should have an immigration policy that adheres to the law but adheres to humanity. And they talked about eating dogs and cats, and they won. And so I myself am soul-searching when I hear this. How in God's name, of all the money that's being spent and all the tax cuts they're giving, we can't fund those interventions that we know make a difference in millions of children's lives? I can't believe America wouldn't go for that.
Look, I'm on the same page as Tim Walz here. I can't believe America didn't go for him and Kamala Harris. And when I see Tim Walz speak, it always makes me very sad as to, what we could have had. Imagining what America would look like and how different America would look like if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz had got elected. But I totally agree with what he said at the beginning of this clip, that being like, they don't like public education. They're trying to dismantle the Department of Education, firing virtually everybody that works there gradually over time to try to follow the law, which is something that Trump doesn't really do all that often, because they want a population that's uninformed. That's why the White House is now picking their own reporters, right, for the press pool, because they don't want the press talking about things that Trump is doing badly and that he's messing up on, because they want a population that's uninformed, and they want a population that just thinks that Donald Trump is responsible for all the good and somebody else is responsible for all the bad. That's the MAGA playbook right now, and I'm glad to see people like Sam Seder, Tim Walz, and these other elected Democrats going around the country sounding the alarm, saying, hey, we have to inform ourselves, we have to be knowledgeable about this stuff, and we got to push back on the Republicans who have a lack of knowledge on this stuff. Anyway, I'll wrap it up there. I appreciate you watching this video, and get out there and continue to fight.
Follow Blue Eye Media for exclusive insights and breaking news sources from global-friendly outlets that you won't get from the mainstream TV and radio outlets of America. Learn how to play the flute of the globe and learn the real truth.